I think the ad business is off to a start. It can grow so much bigger. And it's obviously growing. I think they're saying that they expect a lot more growth. But it's also in a competitive space. They're competing with Disney, with Peacock, with Paramount, Warner Brothers. And those big spenders, those big brands, they don't really increase their budget. So if you want to come into that space, you have to take market share from someone else. Netflix is what I would expect over time is that whatever percentage of viewership they have is what percentage of the ad market they can get. So they have a lot of room to grow. It is working, but it's still relatively small compared to where it can be.
I find it really interesting. We were discussing how people are willing to pay for these subscriptions, even if they do contain ads. I can literally remember when you would watch Netflix all the way through, no gaps at all. But it seems as though this is a really thriving part of their business here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why did they add the ads? Because their customers wanted a lower price point. And so
Hmm.
it's a simple trade-off. We'll give you the lower price point if you'll let advertisers pay for part of your subscription. That's effectively what's happening. And so the customer's getting what they want, and Netflix is getting the revenue they need, in order to make that possible. So it is a win-win. I'm not sure everyone that gets ads thinks it's a win, but it's certainly a win that they don't have to pay as much to get the content.
So I'm looking at the different plans and pricing for Netflix here in the US. There's the standard with ads, there's standard, there's premium. So it starts at $7.99 a month. You can go for premium up to $25 a month. Again, this is here in the US. There are different
Yeah.
intricacies to this because you can pay for extra members and the like. Netflix has gotten really good at, as my brother likes to remind our entire family, understanding if you're sharing an account, and now everybody kind of needs their own accounts.
Yeah.
Is there, from the perspective of actual growth here in a saturated market in the US, is there a concern, or is this by design, that if Netflix raises the premium price, then there will be a small portion of the folks who don't want to pay $25 a month or whatever, and instead they'll drop down to that ad-supported model? Is that the
Yeah,
strategy?
I think worldwide, Netflix, maybe last quarter, the quarter before, essentially, the last time they were reporting subscriber numbers, they said the number one, kind of tier that people were buying was the ad-supported tier. I think it was as much as half of all new subscribers. And so people want it. They want that price point. I think what's really interesting is the way to think of it is Netflix is building a backlog of future revenue. So in other words, they bring on the subscribers that they are essentially under monetizing. They're charging them $7.99 and they're getting relatively few ads. And as Netflix increases the ad load and essentially makes more money, that is just like pure, like that's going to flow directly to the bottom line. I would expect Netflix's earnings to outstrip their revenue growth literally for years to come. It's somewhat similar to the password backlog, where they knew all these people were sharing the passwords, and at any time they can just kind of get more serious about that, and all of a sudden it produced all this additional revenue. That's what's going to happen with Netflix's advertising, and I think I, I have never seen a company this large that I would say should be treated as a high growth stock. That's the potential in the ad business.
Mark, one thing that was interesting to me as we're parsing through this earnings was the fact that Netflix boosted its full year revenue primarily due to US dollar depreciation. What's your takeaway from that?
Well, I mean, their global business. I mean, I think that's for financial analysts to really to really look at. I mean, obviously they don't want to be fluctuating the price points based on, the way financial markets are valuing the
Hmm.
dollar and other things. But I think I think most investors are going to look at the growth in revenue, growth in earnings, continued expansion in national, and I think the most important value for Netflix, which is not really explicitly measured in numbers, is they, through surveys, they are the first place people go when they turn on their TV, is they turn on Netflix. And the amount of power that gives this company is, it's almost hard to state. That's how they can turn like fights into like numbers that rival some of the biggest sporting events, or turn WWE into, a big show on Netflix where one has been as big as another channel. And if I'm an investor, I'm going to be, as long as Netflix is the first place people go, it's going to be the first stock I want to invest in. That I think that's the biggest correlation.